want to answer a question that a lot of people keep asking me. When did I know that God had delivered me from the life of homosexuality? Or when did I know that God had changed my desire for women? To be honest with you, a lot of people I hear say that when God changed them, they knew right away. They know what date, they know what time. But I beg to differ, because salvation is a process. When you give your life to God, it's like the wind. You don't know, it blows, but you don't know in what direction. As I walk with God, things begin to change about me. I can't give you a specific date. I can't give you a specific time. All I know is that when I look back over my life, I realize that things that I used to do, I didn't do them anymore. And I can't specifically put my finger on when it happened. But I do know this, because many times in my life, I've said the prayer of salvation and I've gone back out and did the same thing. I've said the prayer of salvation over and over again, and I was expecting for my hands to change and be new, and my feet too. But none of that happened. I still had the same hands. I still had the same feet. I still had the same body. This may blow you, but I still had the same desires. Don't get it twisted. I did say the prayer of salvation, but I still had the same desires. But as I continued to walk with God, see, people got to understand one thing about being saved is that you're not saved just like that. Now, salvation is just like that. But sanctification is not just like that. As you walk with God, things fall off you. And I remember there was a time when I was in prison, in Broward Correctional Institution. And I remember one day, and I've told this story before, I went to church. And I went with the wrong motive and intentions. Back then, we can wear our own clothes. I dressed up real nice. I didn't have on a prison uniform because I was back in the days when we could wear our own clothing. And I remember it was a cold day and I had on a trench coat. And I only remember this because of how things played out. And I had on some loafers, some nice jeans, and a nice shirt. And I even had a mouthful of gold, and I had on some nice shaves. I had it real long hair, braided back in like Snoop Dogg braids. Where I saw this lady, and she was coming in with the group. She was a ministry, and she was a red bone, nice shape, long pretty hair. And I was outside, and I was standing on the wall talking to my friend, chilling. I told my friend I had just finished playing basketball. I said, "Dang, who is that?" And my friend was like, "Oh, that's the lady from the church. That's the church minister." I said, "Man, I'm going to church tonight." So I went back to the dorm. I showered up, cologne down, got dressed with that attire that I just explained to you. I walked up in the church. My friend was like, "I'm going to shower. I'll meet you there." You know, my friend was dominant, like a homeboy. So my friend came, so we sitting in church, and the lady, she could preach, and she was preaching that word. Let me tell you something. She was preaching that word, and it was pulling my heart. But I went with the intent of trying to holler at this woman. I was like, man, I'm going to pull her, because I was used to pulling any woman I want. I was used to pulling wives and used to pulling women. Just listen, I had a pull game out this world. I'm telling you now. I'm just telling you, I'm just giving y'all that so you can imagine. So, you know, I walked up in there and I was like talking to my friend. We were sitting and I was like, yeah, man. I say, shoot, man, I'm finna go up there and get that number, man. You know, the enemy was just talking to me. I'm like, man, I mean, you couldn't tell me that I wasn't gonna pull her, bro. So I'm telling my friend. So anyway, she preaching and it's gripping my heart. But at the same time, I'm like, man, this lady pretty, boy. I'm gonna get at that. You feel what I'm saying? So the word hitting my heart is hitting home, and God just tilling the soil of my heart, and I'm just sitting there. She did an altar call. So I told my friend, I said, man, I'm finna go up here, man. I'm finna flirt with her. So I walked up there, and it was a line, and she was praying for people. But see, I underestimated the power of God on this woman, because as she was praying for the person in front of me, I was like this right here, and I was checking her out. So when I went up there, I was like, yeah, man, I'm finna put my Mac on. So I took my shades off. You know, I was so lost, y'all. Put the shades in my pocket. So I'm standing there like this right here. And the woman touched me right here. And when she touched me, I floated down like butterfly. Like nobody had to catch me. You know how they be in church and they standing behind you and they fall out and they screaming, ah, and they hollering, ah, and running all around the church. It was none of that. Nobody had to catch me. That's how I knew it was God. Because when she touched me, nobody was standing behind me. I floated like a feather. That was God. And I laid in a fetal position, and when I did, I started crying. And it's like the cry, the wail that was coming on out the inside of me, my belly, from my belly, that wail that was coming out of my belly, y'all. It was like years of pain and hurt and disappointment. I was so broken, laying there in a fetal position. And I just remember that she said to me, she said, God is healing you. He's breaking it up. He's healing you from the hurt, healing you from the pain. And I just felt God just lifting things off me. I'm talking about everything started flashing back in my mind when I stood before the judge with nobody there beside me. The hurt that I felt in my heart then, I guess I harbored it in my heart. And I just suppressed it. Things that I used to be broken and hurt about, I always pushed through and smiled. I didn't realize that it was harbored in my heart. When I tell you God was breaking that stuff, and it started there. I don't remember the date, but I remember the day that I was laying on that floor, and everything started there. And when I felt light, and I walked out of the church, and I remember that at this time, I was in the lifestyle and I did have a girlfriend, but my girlfriend didn't go to church with me that night. I tried to walk upright. I was reading my Bible and everything, trying to walk the walk. And that's when I learned that I couldn't do it. I couldn't stop doing it. I couldn't stop being the way that I was. I couldn't change myself. I was trying to do it through reading the word. I was suppressing, and I was not doing this and not doing this, thinking that I'm saved now. I can't do this, I can't do that. A couple weeks later, I started learning more about myself and my walk with God. And even though I was doing the things that a Christian was supposed to do, such as read my Bible and praying every day, I still realized I was dealing with the homosexual feelings. I still wanted to lay up with the woman. I still wanted to flirt with the women. And that's something that I was struggling with and fighting with, and I didn't know how to stop that. But I realized that I was suppressing it more so than me being an overcomer of it. I got to the point where I couldn't suppress it, so I got back openly into messing with the women, even though I had said the prayer of salvation. But even though I had came back in the lifestyle openly, God was not through with me yet. He was doing a work in me, because that day that God touched me, he touched me for real. You know, so many times we said the prayer of salvation, and we did it because our friends do it. We did it because they tell everybody, repeat after me. But God really got a hold of me that time. Even when she was preaching, the word was hitting me. He really got a hold of me that time. I know that God had gotten a hold of me, because the things that I used to do freely, I couldn't do no more. It was a struggle for me. A part of me wanted to do right and stay in my word and read my Bible and pray. But a part of me was suppressing and wanted to be with the women too. And it had never been like that for me. I was just being with the woman. I wasn't thinking about doing the right thing. So I knew that God had did a work in me then. So as I continued to just be me, do me, not suppress, God, but in the midst of me being with women, doing what I was doing, and just being that wretched person that I was, I stopped suppressing. But I continued to pray, and I continued to study, and I continued to read my Bible, and I just continued to go to church. And the Bible says, it says it in the word of God, those who are planted in the house of the Lord, they shall flourish. And regardless of what I was doing, I never stopped doing these things. And eventually, God started breaking it. I just started like coming away from the lifestyle. Like I didn't have the desire to lay up with the women no more. I didn't have the desire to do certain things anymore. God just started breaking things off my life. So that's basically all I can really tell you about when God really got a hold of me. It's like this. When God get a hold of you, when you have a real encounter with God, something gonna change. Something gonna shift. You'll never be the same. I was never the same after that. And right now today, I could say it's been like almost 15 to 16 years. I have not been with a woman, have not touched a woman, and I have not suppressed, because I'm saved for real. And I've been saved for real since then. I have not suppressed anything. God genuinely took that thing away. I am genuinely free, set free, do not have a desire. And he who the Son sets free is free indeed. So I hope that answers your question. Like, I can't tell you specific dates and specific times like some people can. But for me, salvation and sanctification was a process in my life. God gradually stripped me, and he's still making me over. The thing is, I just continue to pray. I continue to read my word. And I continue to study. And every morning that I get up, I continue to pray to God. And I'm real with God about whatever it is that I'm going through, whatever it is that I'm facing. I don't try to sugarcoat it. I just lay it on the table. He said, cast all my cares on him because he cares for me. So I lay everything that I'm going through. I lay everything that bothers me. I lay it on God's shoulder, because I'm not meant to carry it. I'm not meant to go through all this worration and frustration. That's not what God has for me. So I cast my cares on him, and that word cast means I roll my cares over on God. So I've been living a real carefree life since I've been learning how to do that. Y'all be blessed.